Good morning, students. How are you all? I hope all of you are doing well. A hearty welcome to today's English class. In the last class, we started the fourth lesson from the moments, the supplementary, in the kingdom of fools. The peculiarity of the kingdom was that they changed day into night and night into day. And everything in the kingdom costed the same one to do. And one day, a guru and a disciple happened to visit this kingdom, and they were amazed to see the change in the kingdom. And since the food was very cheap, the disciple decided to stay back, and the guru left the place. In that kingdom, one night it happened that one thief broke into the house of a rich merchant, and the wall fell on him and he died on the spot. His brother went to the king and complained that it was because of the merchant that he built a weak wall that it collapsed on his brother and he died. So he asked for justice, that justice should be done to his brother's family. The king summoned the rich merchant and asked him about the weak wall that he had built, and told him that the thief was killed and it was because of him that he built the weak wall. Then the rich merchant told the king that it is not because of his fault, it is the fault of the bricklayer, that it is because the bricklayer built a weak wall. Then the king asked the bricklayer to be brought to the kingdom, and he was questioned about it. So far we have completed in the last class. So students, take your page number 21. What kind of a wall is this that you built? It has fallen on a poor man and killed him. You have murdered him, we have to punish you by death. So this bricklayer was brought to the kingdom, and he was asked, what kind of a wall is this that you built? That he had built a weak wall, that it has fallen on a poor man and killed him. Now he has to be murdered. The king told that the bricklayer has to be murdered as punishment. Before the king could order the execution, the poor bricklayer pleaded, "Please listen to me before you give your orders. It is true, I built this wall and it was no good, but that was because my mind was not on it. I remember very well a dancing girl who was going up and down that street all day with her anklets jingling, and I couldn't keep my eyes or my mind on the wall I was building. You must get that dancing girl, I know where she lives." Now, the bricklayer pleaded to the king that it was not because of his fault that the weak wall was built, because when he was building the weak wall, one woman was walking up and down, a dancing woman was walking up and down, and it distracted him, and he could not concentrate on the work that he had done. So it is because of the dancing girl that he built a weak wall, and he told that he knows that woman where she is living, and now she is old. You are right, the case deepens. We must look into it. It is not easy to judge such complicated cases. Let us get that dancer wherever she is. The dancing girl, now an old woman, came trembling to the court. Did you walk up and down that street many years ago while this poor man was building a wall? Did you see him? Yes, my lord, I remember it very well. So now this dancing girl who had grown very old, this old lady was brought to the kingdom, and the king questioned her, and he asked her whether she had walked up and down while this man was building, the bricklayer was building the rich merchant's house, and she said it was it is true. So you did walk up and down with your anklets jingling. You were young and you distracted him, so he built a barred wall. So the king said, so you, the old woman walked up and down when she was saying with her anklets jingling, and it distracted the bricklayer and he built a weak wall. It has fallen on a poor burglar and killed him. You have killed an innocent man. You will have to be punished. So the king told that since he distracted and the bricklayer built a very poor wall and it collapsed on the thief and it killed him, this poor burglar. So she has to be punished by death for what she has done. She thought for a minute and said, my lord, wait. I know now why I was walking up and down the street, down that street. I had given some gold to the goldsmith to make some jewelry for me. He was a lazy scoundrel. He made so many excuses, said he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. He made me walk up and down to his house a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It is not my fault, my lord. It is the damned goldsmith's fault. Now the old woman recollected and she remembered that it is true she had walked up and down many times, and while this bricklayer was building the rich merchant's wall, and she said it is because of the goldsmith to whom she had given some gold for making jewelry, and he was a lazy scoundrel. Scoundrel means a dishonest person, and he made so many excuses to this woman, and he said that he would give it now and he would give it then, and so on all day. So every day whenever she went to the goldsmith, he told that he will give the next day, or he would give in the morning. So next day morning or after 2 days, like that, every day he made some excuse, and this poor woman, she had to walk up and down with her anklets jingling, and it distracted the bricklayer. And she said that it is because of this goldsmith that she had to walk up and down for a dozen times. That was when this bricklayer saw me. It is not my fault, my lord. It is the damned goldsmith's fault. So she blamed the goldsmith. Poor thing, she is absolutely right, thought the king, weighing the evidence. We have got the real culprit at last. Get the goldsmith wherever he is hiding at once. Now the king ordered that really it is the goldsmith who is to be blamed, and he has to be brought to the kingdom, and he is the real culprit. He is the real thief who has to be blamed, and he has to be punished with death. The king's bailiffs searched for the goldsmith who was hiding in a corner of his shop. When he heard the accusation against him, he had his own story to tell. So the king sent his bailiffs. Bailiffs are the officials, servants of his kingdom, to bring the goldsmith to the kingdom. And he was hiding in the corner of his shop. And when he heard the accusation is the charge against him, he had his own story to tell. My lord, he said, I am a poor goldsmith. It is true I made this dancer come many times to my door. I gave her excuses because I couldn't finish making her jewelry before I finished the rich merchant's orders. They had a wedding coming and they wouldn't wait. You know how impatient rich men are. Now this goldsmith was called to the kingdom, and the king questioned him, and he said, it is not because of his fault, because same time the rich merchant had given some gold to make jewelry, because there was a wedding in his house, and he could not wait. He was very impatient and going on pestering the goldsmith that first he had to finish this rich merchant's ornaments, and then only he could do for this dancing girl. So he agreed that he had made her to come many times, and he said excuse, and she caused her to walk up and down. Who is this rich merchant who kept you from finishing this poor woman's jewelry, made her walk up and down, which distracted this bricklayer, which made a mess of his wall, which was now fallen on an innocent man and killed him? Can you name him? Now the king asked the goldsmith to find out who is the rich merchant who made him to wait. Made him to wait the dancing girl to get her ornaments ready, and because of her the bricklayer was distracted and he built a weak wall, and the wall collapsed and killed the thief. And the king asked him to name the rich merchant. The goldsmith named the merchant, and he was none other than the original owner of the house whose wall had fallen. Now the goldsmith named who was the merchant, and he was the original owner of the merchant's house which had fallen on the thief. Now justice had come full circle, thought the king, back to the merchant. When he was rudely summoned back to the court, he arrived crying, "It wasn't me but my father who ordered the jewelry. He is dead. I am innocent." Now, finally, the rich merchant was called again. The king was very angry and he was very rude with the merchant, and he arrived crying. And he said that it wasn't his fault, it was his father who ordered for the jewelry. And he is dead, he is no more, and this merchant is innocent, he said. But the king consulted his minister and ruled decisively. It is true, your father is the true murderer. He is dead, but somebody must be punished in his place. You have inherited everything from that criminal father of yours, his riches as well as his sins. I knew at once, even when I first set eyes on you, that you were at the root of this horrible crime. You must die. Now the king was very angry. He consulted with his minister, and he said that it is true that his father is the true murderer. He is the cause, but he is dead. Since this merchant has inherited everything from his father, and even his riches and also his sins. So he blamed the merchant, and he told him he is the root of this horrible crime and he should be punished by death. And he ordered a new stake to be made ready for the execution. So the king ordered a new stake. Stake is a wooden or a metal platform where the execution has to be taken place. So a new stake was kept ready for the execution. As the servants sharpened the stake and got it ready for the final impaling of the criminal, it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was somehow too thin to be properly executed on the stake. He appealed to the king's common sense. The king too worried about it. Now the servants kept ready the stake with it sharpened. They sharpened and kept ready. And as it got ready, the final impaling of the criminal. Impaling means pierce with a sharp instrument. So it was ready, and it occurred to the minister that the rich merchant was a thin man, and it is not suitable, it is not fit. The new stake was not fit for this man to be executed. So the minister appealed to the king's common sense, and the king too worried about it, and the minister and the king were worried about this stake that was prepared. What shall we do? He said, when suddenly it struck him that all they needed to do was to find a man fat enough to fill the stake. So finally they decided that instead of this rich merchant, a thin man, we will find a person who is very fat, who is suitable or fit for this new stake. The servants were immediately sent all over the town looking for a man who would fill the stake, and their eyes fell on the disciple who had fattened himself for months on bananas and rice and wheat and ghee. Now the servants were sent to the kingdom, and they went all around the kingdom, and finally they found this disciple who stayed by, and who had eaten a lot of bananas, wheat, ghee, rice and all, and he was very fat, and actually he was fit for this new stake, and the servants found out this disciple as fitting person to be executed on this new stake. So students, read the lesson. Okay students, thank you. Have a nice day.